Hey everyone, this is Chris and Sandy Bent with the Chris and Sandy Show. We get up close and personal with some amazing guests throughout the entertainment industry. And today, like I say on every episode, we got a great one for you. Who do we have?
We have Laura Bell Bundy. She is an actress, recording artist, songwriter, director, and producer. She was the original Elle Woods in Legally Blonde on Broadway, and she is also a podcast host of Women of Tomorrow. And we're so excited to have her here today.
So welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I always like to start out the same way right now because, within the entertainment world, everything's been shut down until now. How did you handle COVID? How's that process been through the year?
Well, yeah, I think it's hard because as artistic people, artistic people use their work as a coping mechanism and as a way to have self-expression. And when you don't have a stage to perform on or a character to play, sometimes a lot of those feelings and emotions get bottled up. And as you guys have probably experienced, this last year of the pandemic has almost put all of our emotions in pressure cooker. Everything feels quite a bit more intense. And then as an artist, not having those normal ways to cope with that has been difficult. So, but I have been putting out an album this year. I have been able to write some music. And so I just had an album come out on May 7th called Women of Tomorrow. And Women of Tomorrow, the podcast is a companion piece to the album. Okay. And so I think that's been really good for me to be able to stay focused on those things because I was still able to release music. I'm still able to do a podcast because I can do it all virtually.
Yes.
Like we doing.
Yes.
But I have missed the human connection. I've missed performing on a stage and the energy of that. I've missed being on a set. I've missed that. I get energy from that. And I don't necessarily think you get the same kind of energy and feeling from looking at a computer. It's kind of draining,
Right.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
For us, of course, we all had different emotions through COVID and all that. But we launched this show January of 2020, so a few months before COVID happened.
Yeah, a couple months before.
And our original plan was 100 interviews our first year. We thought if we could do that, it'd be a great first year of the show. And then COVID happens. And I'm sitting there watching everything get shut down. And I'm like, a lot of bigger people from artists and actors and all that, they're going to need a place to talk. And they might actually be willing to come on a brand new show.
Right, exactly.
And because of that, we've reached out to all kinds of people last year. And we did over 300 interviews last year. We're over 400 now.
So you met your goal and you surpassed your goal. That's amazing.
So so our goal this year is kind of 300 matching last year. We've got a pattern that we like. We're about one a day, 5 to 6 days a week. We do.
Yeah.
But again, it's been one of them things where we look at everything around us and we have to find that silver lining with the pandemic.
We had to, and our show is definitely that for us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now you've been in basically showbiz all your life. I read your bio, and even from the Phil Donahue show to now, all your life. When did it click that this showbiz could be a career move for you? Because a lot of people would ask, when did you know you wanted to be in showbiz? But I like to know when it clicked where, this could be my career.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when you're a child and you don't really make all the decisions for yourself, right? My mom was, put me in a pageant and I just happened to win it. And then we have to get asked to go to the Phil Donahue show and it was a free trip to New York. And we're like, hell yeah. We're from Kentucky. We want a free trip to New York City. And then it all just kind of snowballed from there. So I think it was this sort of, I felt like I was just along for this interesting journey. I showed up at this, I showed up for the pageant and I did what I needed to do. I showed up for the Phil Donahue, did what I needed to do. And then I got this modeling agency and Ford Modeling Agency. I started going and doing jobs. But I will say this, now that I think about it, when it really started to click for me, I was 9 years old, and I got cast in Radio City Music Hall's Christmas Spectacular.
Oh, well.
Yes.
And I did that show, and I had so much fun. It was when I was like, this is the most fun ever. I want a career where I just get to play. And that's what acting is, or doing music is. Like we do plays, we play music, we play. They call it play. It's playing. And you just playing as a professional, and you're highly skilled and you have technique to be able to play better. And so that, as a young child, that was it. But I always in the back of my mind thought, you know what, I'm going to go to high school and go to college. I might be a doctor. Maybe I'll be a lawyer. Maybe I'll do real estate. I was like, I don't know. And then I was going to school. I had applied to go to NYU. I had gotten accepted, and I was going to go to school for not acting and not music. I was going to go. I ended up going for sociology and psychology because my father said I needed to have something to fall back on. I also love sociology and psychology. So the study of human behavior is. Yes, they do. The study of human behavior and my interest in human behavior has done everything to benefit me as an actor and a songwriter, for sure, because I have an innate sense of human behavior. And but I'm going to this, and I ended up getting this job on a soap opera on Guiding Light.
Wow.
And I stopped going to college to do it. And I think, well, there you go. That's when I was like, wait, why am I going to go to college for this when I'm 18 years old and I'm making money doing the thing that I really love and enjoy doing? And I still think that, I went back to college while I was doing other things as an actor. And I think that, life is long enough that you don't have to have one career. I think we can reinvent ourselves all the time. We can have great ideas, and we can pursue those ideas, and we can start out with the first thing we do in life. That's the beginning of the foundation. And then we learn new things, and we add on that, and we add on that, and we add on that. And then, we retire and start something new. I think, we want to be, we as human beings want to be constantly investigating and expanding and learning. And that's what life is about. So, that's why you see it. I started out as an actor, and then I was a singer-songwriter, and then I'm a director, and then I'm and it just keeps adding on because I'm learning new things and I'm interested in new things.
And I like what you said earlier. You went back to college later, because I think sometimes people miss the point with creatives. When you're in a momentum phase of your life, whether it's an artist, an actor, people don't understand, if you pull away from that to go to college, you may never get that opportunity again. I've seen it where people were like in that momentum. They're like, you know what? I got to have college, and they never got that momentum back. But you got to, as you got to milk that momentum while it's there.
Right. I think, I kind of think I've experienced what's called tailwind and headwind. And when you have a tailwind, you need to go.
Yeah,
that's when you need to pursue the passion. You've got the doors opening, things are happening, you're being pushed. There are times where you feel like the doors are slamming in your face and you've got a headwind. And that's a time you need to allow yourself to pause. There's something to learn here. Maybe this is just, I don't need to be hustling right now. This is a great time to go back to college. Because I have a headwind, and it's harder. It's taking more energy and more effort. And then there are just times in life where you have a tailwind and nothing can stop you. And so I think there's something to that. When the doors open, walk through them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's kind of feel like what I've done a little bit in my career. And there's some times where I've not felt like I had to knock the doors down. But most of the time things worked for me where the doors either were open or they were not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, speaking of that, perfect lead into the next segment is, you know, as you know, a lot of people, they see the glory of a Blake Shelton, of a Brad Pitt, but they don't see the grind, the sacrifice, the tears, the struggles that it takes, not just to get to their level, but even a career level within entertainment. And we always want to talk about that side of it because nobody really does. They kind of gloss over it. They want to do the highlight show, but they forget the backstory. And I like the backstory side because, again, it shows the realness of the guest. So let's talk a little bit about maybe some of the sacrifices through the years, especially when you were young, you know, the sacrifices you had to make that your normal teenager didn't have to make. Just, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can go back further. Yeah, the first time my mom and I ever went to New York City, we had $1,000 to get through the summer.
Wow.
It was 1987. And I guess $1,000 could get you further, but it doesn't get you that far in New York City.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
And New York City was different. It was like real grimy. I mean, porn theaters everywhere. I mean,
Wow.
it was like gross. Now it's like a Disneyland. But then it was just, and it was kind of, it could be a fairly terrifying place. I think about my mom, who was like in her early 30s with a 6-year-old daughter she was taking around. I looked like Ellie Mae Clampett, you know, mother looked like Dolly Parton meets Farrah Fawcett, and we're in New York City. We're walking down the street and we have no money and we can't even afford to eat at a restaurant because we're trying to pinch our pennies, and it was hot dogs off the street or whatever we could get. And we got to New York and we stayed at this hotel called the Milburn Hotel, where I think we actually did have a bathroom in our room, but you know, sometimes you had to go out in the hallway and use the bathroom. It was like almost like a hostel. And she looked in the newspaper to see if there were any sublets available. And she called this woman and she said, it was $1,000 a month and we were going to be there for like 2.5 months. And my mom, she called the woman, she's a Russian lady, and she's like, "Hello, this is Tatiana." My mom said, "Hi, I'm Lorna. My daughter's a model. We're here for the summer. And we only have $1,000 to pay you. Will you take it?"
Wow.
And the woman was like, "Okay, come to my place. I'll meet you. I want to meet you first. You sound like a nice lady. Maybe there's something I can do for you." So and this was after my mom had made calls and everybody said. So we go over, we meet this lady. She's very nice. And she makes this deal with my mom. And she's like, "Listen, if you'll, I have some time, I have to be back in the city. If I can stay at my place, that would be great. And then I let you stay for cheap." And for cheap was all the money we had. So she let us stay there. Now, here's the thing. Tatiana would never let us when she was coming to stay at the apartment. So we would be like, we'd wake up in the morning and open the coat closet. She was lying down on the mattress and she'd slept there the night before. I mean, there was some crazy stuff. Like at one point, my mom, and now this is crazy. She was doing like making the bed, and she lifted up the mattress from the box spring and found a ton of condom wrappers. Now, not condoms, but condom wrappers. And so we were like, what? But I have to tell you this because when my innocent mother from Kentucky is coming to New York and staying in a Russian lady's apartment who shows up whenever she wants and sleeps in the closet, and we're finding all these things, it was an education. Then the next summer, we stayed in what we called the rat hole. No, I'm sorry, the roach hole that was on 91st and 1st. And there were roaches everywhere. We had roommates, and they were from Kentucky too. And we stayed with Kitty and Meredith, who were friends to this day. And Meredith was about 3 or 4. She was 4 years old and I was 7. And we slept in this like loft thing. And it was the smallest, teeny tiniest apartment you could possibly imagine. It was four flights to walk up. We had strollers, we had things. My parents were insane doing this. And my mom was lying on a little twin cot bed. And Kitty was lying on a cot bed in the living room. They had bicycles hanging above them. And one night, Kitty woke up in the middle of the night screaming because my mom had a roach crawling across her face. Oh. But I say this because these were the only places we could afford to live in.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
You know, like you make sacrifices when you're doing this. And I mean, I have more stories for you that I could go on about being a child in New York.
Because, you know, a lot of people think people are lucky who make it to the top in entertainment. And I haven't found anybody, like, unless they've had actor parents already, you know, that are really lucky. Because again, everybody has a story and crazy stories that led them to finally before they made it.
Yeah, and you know what, you have to have it, because part of the reason I think that the people who do make it is that, you know, resilience is not something you can teach. Resilience is something that people have to learn from experience. And
so true.
We learned how to have resilience, and I saw my mom have that fight in her. And back in the day, there was pay phones. There weren't even beepers. There weren't cell phones. And so when you were a working actor as a child, you had to call your agent every day on the phone, and sometimes 2-3 times a day, and say, hey, are there any auditions? Are there any jobs? Any blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And they would give you like oh yeah, glad you called in. We have something for you at da-da-da-da. It's from 2 to 4. Be there, bring this, you know, bring your book, bring your thing. You're like, oh, you have a job at 3. So every time we left our house, my mom had a gigantic Ziploc bag full of quarters. So she could she walked around in this big old bag with a portfolio with socks and sneakers and hair ties and anything I could possibly need if I had a job, because that's kind of how it worked. I would do these little modeling jobs, and then I would just have to be ready. Now it's gotten so much better and so much easier that people have cell phones, and it was harder. And then I learned how to, I mean, I was singing already, but I really learned how to properly sing these summers that I went to New York. So I went to New York in the summer from the time I was 6 till I was 9 years old. And I got that job at Radio City Music Hall. And then I had to live in New York full time and go to school in New York because the show was during the fall and the winter. But when I was just going in the summer times from the age of 6 to 9 years old, I was training with different singing teachers and dance teachers and different people there. And they were, you know, my mom couldn't afford to pay for these lessons. And so, you know, we were just hoping, oh, yay, I hope I get a modeling job, and that modeling job can cover the cost of this, or, you know, it's like, do we do a voice lesson or do we do dinner? You know? And so, and, you know, my father was in Kentucky, and my parents had started a business together a number of years before, and they have an entrepreneurial spirit, definitely, for sure. But my father had that business to worry about too, you know? And so there was, you know, while they could support somehow my career, a lot of the money that I made as a young actor all went back into being able to support it. And so, you know, it's just, I did 8 shows a week when I was 10 years old.
You know, it's funny. What's funny is you were talking about earlier about the bag of quarters. I can remember about 15, 17 years ago, we had a training to do in Boston. And we knew about the tolls in New York. So we gathered up $10 of coins and thought that will be fine. I remember we pull up to the very first toll, and it was $7. And I was like, okay, $10 ain't gonna.
It is crazy. So I just moved from California to a farm in New Jersey, an hour away from the city. And I went into the city for the first time, like 2 months ago. And I think it was like $20 to go through the tunnel. I was like, what? how is it this expensive? And I was like, I do not have this cash on me. I rolled up and I was like, do you take credit cards? No, we don't take credit cards. He was like, but we have your license plate. We'll send you a ticket. I was like, okay.
Wow.
Well, I guess they give you like a month to send in the toll. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's insane. And New York is so expensive. And for, people who were from Kentucky, it's, and everything. I think
and she's from Kentucky.
Yes. I'm from Kentucky too.
Where are you from?
Pikeville area, the eastern side of the state, Pike County.
Yes. Of course. Yeah, so it's a culture shock.
Yes,
from Kentucky to New York in every way. Yes. Like I think there was that was a learning curve for us, and then there was the financial learning curve, and then there was the show business learning curve, and there was just a lot to learn, and I definitely think that I'm so grateful for the experience in so many ways. Like I'm grateful for the hustle and the hard knocks, and I'm grateful for the fact that I was able to see. My eyes were opened and my mind was open when it came to people living in different ways of different races and just understanding more about different cultures in New York City, where it really is a true melting pot. And I mean, it was. It
probably also helped your characters that you played too, because a lot of the roles, I bet you're like, oh, I lived this.
Yeah. I mean, you need me to play a New Yorker. I can play a New Yorker. I can totally do the accent, whatever you need me to do. And I can do a lot of accents because I experienced a lot of. I was a mimic as a kid. I think that was really part of it too, is just learn, like really I was an observer. I would listen and I would take it all in and then regurgitate it. Oh my gosh. I remember we came home from Kentucky. I'm sorry, came home from New York and we were back in Kentucky after I was 6 years old, the summer I was 6 years old. And my mom had people over to dinner. And I came downstairs and I had like garbage bags on and I had covered my face in all of her brown eyeshadow. And I had a cup and I was shaking it with change. And I was asking for change like a homeless person. It's kind of messed up. It's actually really messed up. But like that's what I saw. So I was asking the guests of her dinner party for change. I mean, it's just like you see these things. You're 6 years old. You just
you imitate
you do these.
That's like our 2-year-old little Caitlin. Anything we do, she has to copy.
Yes, anything. Yes, anything she sees us do right now, she's in that phase.
And our 9-year-old, which you'll hear from him later because we had bring him on to ask a few questions. When he was her age, he did the exact same thing. It was like, man, we got to be careful what we do and say.
Oh yeah, my son is 2, and I'm just starting to see he's literally repeating everything I say. So I haven't had to really watch my mouth, but now I have
to. So, are your thoughts of your son going into showbiz?
No, I think here's the thing. I am so grateful for the career that I have, and I'm so grateful. It made a lot of sense that, I believe you pick your parents before you come into this life. And I picked my mom. I picked someone who was going to hustle and pound the pavement and wanted her daughter to be in show business because I think that I have the mind and the brain for that type of. I'm, built to be a performer.
Wired for that.
But I also want my son to have more choices and, have to go to summer camp and to, there were some things in my childhood I didn't get to have because I was working, literally. And, I remember being, 8 years old and doing a modeling job in New York City in 90-degree heat and humidity in Central Park.
Wow.
In a winter coat, and it was like, and all these kids were running in the sprinkler, and I'm like, it's a hard not life. It was like, so here's the thing. I love if my son wants to be creative, if he wants to, paint and draw and sing and dance, and we can.
Well, now you can be a YouTube star and never leave your house.
I know that's true, but I think I will never put him in the business until he's at an age where he can literally come and say to me, "Hey, Mom, this is what I want to do." And I do believe that people who start young have a leg up. You see it all the time.
Yeah. And with parents backing.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's a lot of sweat equity those parents put into it. You look at Taylor Swift, that was all her mom and her parents at the beginning.
It was.
And, and then at some point she shifted and she took the reins, and you see that shift too. You see the shift to what was created for her, and then what she then took and created upon. And I see that with a lot of people who start young and then go beyond, like Justin Timberlake. You see that he did that too. And you see that Jessica Biel, his wife, did the same. They were both child actors. Jessica and I were friends as kids. And you see that shift happen. I think there's something so valuable about life experience. There's something that's so valuable about being able to make your mistakes not in the public eye. Yeah. When you look at your teenage years and your early 20s.
Look at Britney. I mean, such great talent, but yet she had so much fame so quick.
Yeah.
And then she just had the breakdown, and it's like she could have done that without the public eye, and she'd have probably been a whole different person right now.
Totally. I think that's true. I don't know if you know this. Britney Spears was my understudy.
Oh, wow.
When I did a show when I was 10 in New York. And so I was friendly with her, and we were friendly with her mom. And she's a very sweet girl, kind of soft-spoken, kind of shy, from Louisiana, She was just sweet, and I didn't find her outspoken whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I was a little spaz, and I was a little outspoken. So after she left, Natalie Portman was my understudy, and Natalie's a little outspoken, and we connected a bit more than Britney and I. But Britney was very sweet, and I think I've thought a lot about her. I feel because. Again, that whole, she had this beautiful, strong belt voice, and even her voice was changed, like that, a lot of that glottal fry that was used in her singing. And a whole brand was created that was Britney Spears. And she had so many people were obsessed with her and interested in her. She had no privacy right in the time where we're supposed to be learning from our mistakes. That's what life is about. Life is about taking risks, making mistakes, and learning from those mistakes. And if you can't make mistakes in private, how are you, number one, supposed to grow? And how are you supposed to cope? And how do you not go crazy?
Because she had no time to cope.
Yeah.
Right. She had no privacy. No, nothing. So, I think the breakdown probably had to do with the fact that she didn't have the space and the anonymity and the privacy to become a woman.
Right.
Because I can't imagine that.
I can't imagine that either.
Yeah, no, we all can't imagine it. Like literally, if you wanted to, like, hey, let's go to the the mall today. No, you can't. Let's go to a restaurant today. No. Hey, let's go to church. You're not going to even be able to go to church without people walking up to you, want to take a picture. Like, there's not even the the respect for your spiritual process. Wow. Like that's not even there. Like she was famous all over the world. There was nowhere to hide.
That's like we had Brian Littrell from the Backstreet Boys on last week. And he talked about that too, that when the Backstreet Boys blew up, and he said at first he was frustrated because he said they blew up overseas first, of course.
Europe, Germany.
So they'd come back here and nobody knew who they was. And he said that at first he thought that was a negative, but then he's like, oh no, this is actually good. This is my break. But then all of a sudden they blew up here.
In the US,
and he said not only did they have no more privacy, they couldn't go nowhere. He says that his fiance at the time, which became his wife, ended up getting death threats, from people, and they had to hide it.
They couldn't have any girlfriends or wives.
And he said it just becomes so. He said we blew up so fast, so quick that none of us knew what to do.
Yeah,
and it's sad that's what happens out there.
But it is the. It's like you hear like in the Bible, do not worship false gods and false idols and right. Yeah. But that's exactly what it was literally called American Idol, right? Like that's what the pop industry is generating. They're generating these like little mini gods and these idols and
social media is added to that.
Worship.
Oh yeah. Social media is, hey, follow me, get likes. I have a song on my latest album called Digital Disease. Mm-hmm. And it's all about our obsession with social media and our need to be liked by people who don't even know us or know anything about us. And then we go shop ourselves and we change ourselves trying to fit into a mold that we think that people will like us better. And it has nothing to do, real connection, real human connection is all about, they think they're going to marry these celebs. I don't know. Oh yeah, they do. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the fans. Some of the girls probably do with the boy band guys, especially. Yeah. They're like, I'm gonna marry him.
I've had some pretty crazy things. I've had people tattoo pictures of me on themselves.
Oh wow!
Oh, wow!
When you go, I don't know if that's a compliment or if I should be scared of surrender.
Yeah.
Wow,
that's gotta be surreal.
But the thing is that behind the curtain, which is interesting that your show is all about what's behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. Curtain. The people that you follow are different.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have real problems and real struggles and they probably have real wrinkles and they probably, health issues and all kinds of things that they don't share.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's all about perception out there in the public eye.
Yeah. You got to be this good, just like, we're hardcore people that go to church a lot, but you see that at church too. It's like people come to church and how are you doing? Oh, I'm great. You got that. You live this. You live in this mask society, unintended.
I know.
It's like, are you ever going to pull the mask off and tell the truth? Because I actually got put down recently because on my Facebook page, I tell what feelings I go through trying to build this show because it's tough, being in showbiz like
you're
this.
Trying to be honest.
And I had someone private message me and said, oh, you shouldn't be saying this and saying that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm raw. And I want people to know. Plus, I want people to also know, too, it's kind of my journal to where when we do make it as a Bobby Bones show, a Ty Bentley show, Kelly Clarkson show one day, we'll be able to look back and say, see, I went through all that. I showed it on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all about authenticity, too. Like, when we make true connection with people, true connection is not changing and shape-shifting to get likes on Instagram.
Yeah.
No. True connection is about showing ourselves and being seen with all our flaws and being accepted by another person. And it's about authenticity. We connect as human beings through shared pain.
Exactly.
Stories of shared pain. We do not connect like my life is so great. We don't connect like that. That's not how we
I
connect.
love that you said shared pain. I said that recently to somebody.
Struggle.
I actually said that. I can't remember who, but I was talking to somebody on the phone, and I was like, you can connect for a little while on shared vision, but you really connect on shared pain.
Mm-hmm. And a friend when you've had to go through battle together.
Ooh,
like a friend when you see how they handle themselves in a stressful situation. And you can also know a friend when you've had a problem with that friend and how that friend then handles the problem you've had with them. If the friend is really super defensive and tells you it's your fault, that's probably not a friend to have. Right?
And that's
if a friend is like, I hear you.
Yeah.
I understand how you feel.
Exactly.
If I made these changes, would that help you? Or I don't understand. I didn't mean to do that. Whatever. But like not listening to someone and being defensive and blaming, that's not friendship.
That's like I went through 19 years of addictions, and the first 5 years of our marriage, I was still in the middle of those addictions with her. And Sandy never put me down, never nagged, never did any of that. She loved me in spite of the addictions. And sometimes when we tell the story, people are like, "Oh, she let you walk over her." Like, no, that's not what she did. She allowed me to experience God's love through her. And I really believe if she didn't allow that with her pure heart, I would probably be dead today. We definitely wouldn't have our kids.
Right. It's interesting.
And she's been that rock for me when I couldn't be strong. And now together, 18 years married. So, we made it through that, but that's given us a story.
It has brought us closer together.
Yeah. And how amazing, Sandy, that you could love him through that and have belief that, enough belief that he could make those changes and feel safe enough to live life without a substance. And that's really amazing.
And been sober 13 years now.
Yes.
So.
That's incredible.
Doing well.
Congratulations.
And it's just one of them things where, I wouldn't change my 19 years of addictions because it made me who I am today.
Of course.
I wouldn't be emotional, and I'll cry in a Hallmark commercial.
Yes.
And I truly believe that if you took away the addictions, I probably wouldn't be that kind of guy. I have no issue with that. 'Cause I don't have an issue with that. I've been called names for that. I don't care. I've been an outcast all my life anyway. So what's it doesn't matter.
Well, it's interesting. I think we get confused about God's love, right? Mm-hmm. And that it's reserved for people who can achieve perfection. And that's not
the other way.
What it's about. It's the opposite. And, here's the other thing that's interesting is I've always believed that compassion is gained through experience. And experiences that really don't go well for us. We have compassion for other human beings. And it's hard to have compassion when we don't struggle or because we don't understand what it's like for other people to struggle and we can't relate. So like for you, Chris, you would be someone that who if someone was really going through a struggle and maybe even addiction or whatever, because you've had that experience, you're going to get through to that person much deeper than someone who has never lived that before. That's so, these things are valuable. Your life is a lesson now. And Sandy, it's so amazing that I think that is really how you are supposed to love. You're supposed to love through it. There's points of tough love, of course.
Yeah,
but right.
I mean, I never hit her and I never cheated. So, I didn't cross the big lines. But I crossed lines. But I didn't cheat and I didn't hit her. So, if I'd have done no, she'd have probably left. But outside of that, I crossed a lot of lines in those first years because of the addictions. And again, 95% of women would have left. And she didn't. And she just knew. In fact, she kind of jokes with me now. She's like, now, we're starting to grow as a show and things are coming out. She goes, you better not be one of these men that you get success. Because, like I remember a quote recently said, the hard part for a woman is to go through a relationship when there's nothing. The hard part for a man is to go through a relationship after there's everything.
And we were like, oh, wow.
And I was like, that's so, because women don't want to stay if it don't look like there's hope.
Right.
Men don't want, a lot of times men don't want to stay once they've made it. So, but when I heard that quote, I was like, and I thought about people I know and thought about relationships that end. I'm like, that is almost, I mean, again, there's always exceptions, but that's pretty close to accurate.
It is.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I think at least a lot of my my relationships, there's a, well, and I've heard this quote too. Men, when they meet a woman, they never want her to change. They want her to be just like they were when they met. Women meet a man and they're like,
they want to change everything.
They have made the decision about who this man could be. And are committed to the vision of who he could be someday.
Yes.
And I have found that I'm often that in a relationship believing in the possibilities.
Thank God she did though.
Right.
Yes.
It's hard though, because some people would say you need to just see it for what it is,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now, if we were just dating, it would probably be different. But but we were married, so it kind of locked us in a little more to where she was probably willing to take it a little longer.
Right.
And but I'm so thankful that God woke me up enough to say, because I'll never forget the day, December 26, 2007, when I woke up for the first time feeling like, wow, I got drunk on Christmas Day. And I've never done that before. And even as a Christian, even though I was due to addiction, because some people are like, oh, you can't be a Christian and be addicted. And I'm like, well, you just don't know. Many Christians are addicted out there.
Many are.
Don't see it. And,
most are.
Yep. And I went through that. And it's like, I remember that morning, it was like, I pleaded with God, say, look, you either heal me take the desire of this away, or take my life, because I'm like, you know what? I've had it. I can't go no longer. I'm destroying her. And I seen that. And I really felt like he says, I'm healing you. Give me 30 days. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, now I'm going crazy. I'm hearing things, I'm like, and then my next thought is, okay, if it's God nudging me on this, you're God. Why do you need 30 days? And it's like, why can't you do it now? But the more you read the Bible, the more you realize every miracle was preceded by obedience, for some form of obedience. And my form of obedience was to stay sober those 30 days, and he would heal me the rest of my life. And I've had zero desire since. I have zero desire. Zero. I don't do this day by day. It's zero. And it's just one of the things. And I'll be honest, sometimes you feel guilty because you got friends that are taking it day by day and they struggle and they fall. And I sometimes I feel guilty. And then I feel like God says, look, your story's going to be told. There's a reason. Because again, and now we got this show to where I get to talk about a little bit of this story from time to time with certain guests, and we're trying to write a book and all of that on our story. So now I'm starting to put pieces together and say, okay, there's a reason
makes sense
that I was healed in this way. Because I tell people, look, I'm not saying you'll be healed the way I did was. I just know that what I felt and what happened, and that's all I know.
Well, it's also belief, right?
Yeah.
Belief carries more weight than any amount of money.
True.
Belief is huge. I think, or talent. Belief, when it comes to, who's making it, who's not. And sometimes you look at people and you're like, how's this person made it and this person hasn't? I think it comes down to belief. comes down to belief.
Yeah, because there's a lot of artists that should make it, and you're like,
yep, it's self-doubt, doubt creeping in, self-doubt, fear, but belief in holding true to that belief. And here you were, and you believed this. And then and it wasn't just believing, it was knowing. And that transforms you.
Now, later down the road, she told me that when I first told her, okay, that's it. God told me I'm healed. No more alcohol, drugs, any of that. She's like still my cheerleader. She was still saying, yeah, we can do this together and all that. But she told me like a year later, I think it was. Yeah. And she said, in the back of my mind, I didn't believe it.
Of course.
Yeah, I've heard it so many times. I mean,
of course. It's kind of the cry wolf, like at least exactly what Charlotte said, it is faith. But I think too, it's like you have to, Sandy probably had to prepare herself, like as a, I need to be able to be prepared for this not to work and still love him. Yeah. And not feel like he has to be this in order, and then that's hard. It's really hard when you are supporting someone who has struggled with substance or any sort of addiction. And they're all over the gamut in terms of what addiction can, there are people that go from substance abuse addictions to being addicted to working out or addicted to food or addicted to, we have to kind of
just transfer
adjust those. Yeah. And I've known quite a few people who have transferred addiction, and unfortunately they've made themselves healthier, but it's almost an obsession with this new thing. And and it's something about, like, I think lately it is pouring down rain, by the way. I don't know if you can hear it. It is pouring down rain outside.
I was out here yesterday.
It is but I think we get the weather. We get the weather you had the next day. I tend to get
it's moved there now.
So, but what were we saying? Oh yeah, the transfer of addiction. But I think there is something there too of like trust, because when you transfer to one thing, you're still trying to do something, right? As opposed to just trusting. And that's something that I've been feeling like needs to shift in my life, is that I've been in a place of doership where I'm doing, where I'm in control.
Yeah.
And I've got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this. And if all those things aren't done, then this thing that I want isn't going to happen. Yeah. And then I think about, well, that's never how anything's worked for me. Like, if I really think about it, I have to get out of the way, and I have to just be, and I have to trust. And so I'm starting to begin to make a shift in my life where the busyness and the doing of things and the pushing and the hustling is transforming into inner knowing and trust and allowing myself to be. And some of those things are coming up for me, I think, because I'm a mom now. And I don't want to spend all of my time hustling and going and going. I want to spend some time with my child, being present and observing and connecting, and then just allowing the other things in my career to blossom and evolve without me having to control every aspect of it.
Because controlling things, it's like it's like an addiction in itself. It's like you have to have control of everything.
Yes.
And then when you don't, you feel withdrawals. Just like an addiction. And then it's like, if you have to control everything, all it takes is one little thing to go wrong, and then it dominoes.
Oh yes.
Oh, I know. And then you're in some sort of like a shame spiral, and then you pick up the bottle of wine, and then and then it's a whole thing. But yeah, I think it's definitely, and I think too, we talked a lot about me, when I was a child actor, pounding the pavement in New York, and I've been doing that
all your life
for 34 years.
Wow.
I'm ready to retire. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm in that place where I'm like, okay, all right.
Yes.
I just want to be inspired and of course, yes, we all have to. I think we all have to make money. We all have to support and provide for our families. And that is obviously a part of it. And there has to be hustle to do that. But there is also you also have to allow things to be. I remember Reba McEntire telling me once, and I should have listened better to her. She's a wise lady.
Yes.
I feel like we were at a bar at the ACM Awards or something.
Wow.
And this is what happens during that week. Everybody goes to Vegas and the performing is happening. And they're outside in the little casino bar chatting. And she just said to me something like, I used to get really antsy during the down times. I feel like I had to be doing something and making things happen and fighting the fight. And she's like, I've come to realize I should have just allowed myself to enjoy my life in those moments.
Wow.
Those were gifts to me that I saw as the opposite.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, girl? You're so right. And I see her now like posting pictures of herself like on a ranch in Montana with her new boyfriend. And I'm like, you get it, girl. You enjoy your downtime. You enjoy your
I love that. Now, as you know, a lot of people, they see the artist, the actor, but they don't see the team behind them. And in our opinion, they never get the love they deserve.
They don't.
So if you want to take a few moments just to tell us about the team that helps you be who you are.
About my team?
Yeah.
Well, I have an awesome team. On the forefront of my team is my agent, Julie Colbert at WME, and my management at Haven, Brady Mackay and Amy Slomovitz, and Rachel Miller, who's been amazing and has helped me get amazing opportunities as a writer and a director. But my songwriting team, I used to, and I still do, write with a lot of different songwriters and different producers, but I now have a tight number of people I really love working with that I know that the magic happens with, and I like to work with them over and over again. And for this latest project, there's a guy named Jeremy Edelman who we met when I was doing Heart of Dixie. He did the music for Heart of Dixie, and they always had me sing on the show. So I kept going to his studio. And I started to be like, have you ever thought about doing this? And he was like, yeah, could you sing on this for me? And so we started writing together and composing together and creating fun little things together. And we did this album that I just did. And then my newest addition to that songwriting team is my friend Shay Carter, who has become my best female friend, like a female soulmate to me. And we have a podcast together. We have Women of Tomorrow together. And our producer for that is Alan Seals, who's incredible. And reminding me to get on Chrome for my StreamYard. And so yeah. And then for my social media, I have my cousin, Addie, who helps me just make sure I've got everything in alignment when we have a podcast coming out or when we have album stuff coming out. 1RPM is my label. I work with an amazing girl there named Julia McLeod. I've been working with the team over at B Squared too for placing songs on playlists and doing all kinds of things. And I have a wonderful young woman named Kelly Wilson, who is on my team in terms of I teach some master classes, and I also have, when I have auditions, I go over lines with her, and I also go over with Addie. So yeah, there's so many people behind the scenes. There's so many people. It's so big. And then I guess the biggest person in my life is my husband.
Can't forget him.
Yeah, because he puts up with a lot. And he's really great. Like if I want to share ideas with him creatively, we spar back and forth on those, and and he's very supportive, and yeah, so I'm sure I left someone out. Oh, my amazing publicist, Samantha Goldstein. So it just, the list goes on, and it's really important to have those people who are in your life. I have another young woman named Jasmine Warner, who's just come on to my podcast because we do a lot of history research. And so we want to make sure that all of our stuff is historically accurate. And we're, so there's just a mountain of people on the team.
Speaking of teams, we have a third co-host.
We do.
Our 9-year-old.
You have a what? I missed it. Oh, yes, bring him on.
So Sandy's going to go get him real quick.
I'll get him.
And we got a 2-year-old daughter that when she gets older, she'll be plugged into the show too. And God. While we are waiting for him to come, tell us a little about your podcast.
Hold on one second. I just have to send a note because I'm running late for something. Okay. My podcast is called Women of Tomorrow. It's a companion to the album Women of Tomorrow that came out on May 7th, which you can get everywhere, iTunes, Spotify. And we delve into different issues that women are facing today, whether that be, equal pay, unattainable beauty standards, domestic violence, that goes on. And the podcast, we dive deeper into those issues. We talk about the history of those issues, and we have a guest come on who is an expert on the different topics that we're talking about, and then we figure out solutions of moving forward. So it's cool. I think it's actually amazing if men would listen to it.
So it's identifying the problem and coming up with a solution. I like the solution.
Exactly.
Everybody identifies problems, but nobody talks about how do we handle it.
Right. Yeah. And that's a discussion, and everybody has different opinions on it. But I think a lot of it is being able to truly understand the history of these issues, that they've evolved over time, and then also being able to see that we see it through a really personal lens. Like I can look at it, equal pay, as a problem because I can literally see my paycheck is less than that other male I'm working with. And so now we talk about, why do we have this? So
that makes sense.
Hi.
Hi, Laura Bell Bundy. So what's your favorite food?
Fried chicken.
Yum.
And what's yours?
Mine is pizza.
Yeah, awesome. I love pizza too.
You could eat it all day long.
All right, so what's your favorite TV show?
Oh, well, that's changing all the time because I'm discovering new things. But I guess I really love the show. Do you hear the thunder?
Yep, I heard that.
My favorite show right now is Succession. I love that show. I also love this show called The Boys, which is on Amazon, which is about superheroes and superhero villains. And I never really was into that stuff, but I think this show is so funny.
What's yours?
Mine is SpongeBob.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. Okay, so what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is The Sound of Music.
And yours?
Mine is the Maintenance movie.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Yes. Bye, thanks.
Bye.
And I'll let Sandy ask the last question, and then we'll let you go. But he loves doing that part.
He does.
And we're excited to have him part of the show, too.
We are.
He's so cute.
All right, I'll close out. What would you like your legacy to be? What would you ultimately like to be known and remembered for?
I think,
She gets the deep one.
Yeah, the tough question at the end.
Yeah, I think it has.
I heard that.
Oh, heard that one. Wow.
That was loud.
That was.
I think, a lot of the work that I'm doing right now is about educating and empowering women.
Yeah.
And I hope at the end of the day that my work is about shedding light on what is unseen and
love that.
Connecting through understanding. I hope that really my job is to be a conduit and to get ideas from a higher source and then bring them into the universe. And so I hope that I can do that properly.
Awesome. So tell everybody
that I can bring forth understanding and connection.
Oh, so I love that. So tell everybody how they can reach out to you.
So I'm on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. I laugh because I'm like way too old for TikTok.
We got a TikTok, but
never used it.
I do use it, but I don't take it too seriously. It's at Laura Bell Bundy for everything, and I'm pretty active on Instagram, and I do respond to people, and and I'll respond to people on Facebook too. But I'm the most active on Instagram.
Okay.
Love that. We really enjoyed having you on the show today, and we look forward to having you back down the road.
I definitely look forward to that, and I have really enjoyed this nice, in-depth, real conversation.
Our pleasure.
Oh, thanks so much.
You have a great